Hi, welcome back to another video. I hope you're well, I really do. So I'm sat in my car, I'm in Aldi car park, the food shopping's in the boot. I've just had a really bizarre conversation with a random stranger I've never met in my life. So basically I was getting out my car, he was getting out as also, we made eye contact, I smiled, he smiled back. Sounds like a scene from a romantic movie, but it's not going that way. And I uttered the words, I could see he had a nice car, so I uttered the words, oh, nice car, mate, or something like that. And we started having a very brief conversation. Within that brief conversation, it was a couple of minutes. He told me the value of his car. He told me he was going on holiday to Dubai. I was being to Dubai. I don't know. I kind of like, wasn't trying to be rude. I just kind of wasn't that interested at the time. I had quite a lot going on. So yeah, within that very brief moment, he told me the value of his car and he told me he'd been on these expensive holidays. So it got me thinking, did he buy that car because, you know, it's something he's always wanted and he, you know, he's so passionate about this type of car? Or was it to kind of like impress other people? Did he buy it to have conversations like that, what he's just had with myself, a random stranger? I kind of think it was the latter. I believe he may have bought that car to show off. So it got me thinking, why do we show off? Why do we like to flex? Why do we want that perception? So people can flex with anything really, you know, it might be an item of clothing, it might be a holiday, it might be a car, it might be a career. You know, some people like to flex with a career. Some people will actually go down a career path to have this title of something that they didn't even want to do just because of the perception it gives them. I've even met people who think vaping's a flex, which is really bizarre. Now, don't get me wrong, I 100% know this is not everybody. Some people like to buy expensive clothing because they like the quality and how it feels. Some people book the holidays to fancy places because that's just what they want. That's the dream holiday. That's what they've worked hard to get. And some people genuinely want that career path. I'm not tying everybody with the same brush. I'm just stating that there's people out there who do these certain things just to give that perception, just to flex, just to impress other people. The reason I'm making this video is because I try and encourage people stepping out of the comfort zones, people to start their own businesses, start the fitness goals, whatever it may be. So I don't want you to fall into that trap of doing it to impress others. I want you to deeply and truly do it for yourself. So my first memory of flexing or showing off was from school. Do you remember when it used to be like, oh, my dad's better than your dad, or my dad drives this car, my dad's got a better job? And we're just kids then, so you got an excuse for that because your parents were your heroes and you didn't know any better. When it comes to an adult, you know, when you get to a certain age, it gets to the point where you got to grow up and, you know, be a little bit more humble. You know, you don't see me in the pub with my mates like, oh, John, my dad's better than your dad, he does this, or my dad's got a better car than your dad. To be fair, I'd never win that argument anyway. Have you seen my dad? Because I haven't either. So here's 5 reasons on why people flex. After discovering these, my mindset changed about people who flex and people who show off. I started to feel some empathy towards them. So let's get into it and let's see if you feel the same empathy. So number 1, the deep need for validation. So many people seek external approval to feel worthy. So flexing is a very quick, easy way to gain people's attention, to gain praise, you know, to put the focus on them. And a lot of the time with that is because they've got very low self-esteem. So they need that attention to bring that up. Number 2, so the other one is social comparison. So we're obviously, because of social media and the world that we live in, you know, everyone's comparing themselves to others. And we see people who have got fancy cars, we see people who live in those luxurious lifestyles. And flexing is a way to kind of, you know, try and keep up. We feel like we're falling behind. We want social acceptance. The problem with that though is people get into debt. You know, they live in a lifestyle that's not a true reflection of them. So they're not truly happy. So social comparison, we always say comparison is the thief of joy, but comparison is also the instigation of flexing and showing off. So number 3 is really bizarre because it's about survival. In the ancient times, before internet, before social media, I'm talking back then when they're chasing bloody saber-toothed lions and all that kind of crap, status was survival. So basically people used to flex to have that social status. So the people who've got more food back then, you know, it was a survivor thing, would have more friends, so they'd show off with the food. People who didn't have the food, you know, they were the envious. Yeah, back then, as it is now, it's about that social ladder. The more you flex, or the more you've got that perception of that lifestyle you live in, you know, the higher up the ladder you're going to be. So number 4 is all about consumer and marketing. You know, you turn on the TV, you see these adverts, you go into the town centres, you go into the shops, see what they've got in the windows. You know, we're on our phones constantly, we're on social media, we see other people flexing, whether it's the cars, whether it's the fancy holidays, the clothing. So flexing is just something that people follow. It's something that's embedded into people. Flexing is just people following a script that they've been sold their whole lives. So number 5 is the deepest one. People flex to hide the emotions. So people who feel the need to flex are the ones who are generally emptiest inside. You know, they're masking something, they're trying to cover something up. They're using flexing to hide their emotions. So whether that's fear, it might be insecurity, they might have a lack of purpose. So having this knowledge has started to make me empathize to people who are flexing, people who show off. I start to kind of feel a little bit sorry for him, because I feel, you know, they're flexing for a reason. They don't necessarily mean to do it. It's their mental state. It's how they deal with things. It's how they overcome that insecurity. Deep down, I don't believe they want to flex, but I think they're flexing because that's how they feel they'll be socially accepted. That's how they feel that, you know, they can build some confidence. They're using materialistic things to build their own confidence, to build their own ego, to feel more accepted in today's society. And it's not their fault. That's what's been engineered. That's the way the world is. I can guarantee you will know somebody, whether it's a friend, a family member, someone in your work environment who flexes and who shows off. What I want to get across is reevaluate the way you think about them, because they may need your support, they may need a friend, they may just need somebody to talk to, they may just need someone to acknowledge that, you know what, that's a beautiful car, mate. I'm glad you spent 30 grand on that. Be there for them, because you don't know what they're going through. They may have insecurities. We've got insecurities. Everyone's got insecurities. So before I go, I'll leave you with 3 bits of advice to stop you getting in the mindset of flexing. Number 1 is invest in personal growth, focusing on learning, improving your skills, building something meaningful. That'll bring real confidence that doesn't need to be flaunted. Number 2 is help or uplift others. So use your success, use your knowledge, use your experience to help somebody else. Quiet impact, helping that other person, is more powerful than that loud flexing. You know, being on social media, flexing, making YouTube videos, flexing. That's not the kind of message we want to be putting out there. We want to be putting positive messages out there to help people. So finally, number 3 is let your actions speak. Let your work, let your character, let your consistency, let that do the talking. People respect those who move in silence and deliver results without needing applause or wanting attention. So bear those in mind. People are going to flex. Unfortunately, people have these insecurities. It's generally not their fault. Let's have some empathy for these flexers, but don't become one. So in summary, we've got a little bit of a better understanding of why people flex. So we can have sympathy, we can have empathy, we can be hyper aware to see if it's ourselves who are flexing and maybe the underlying reason why we're doing it. But also remember, there's a big difference between people who are flexing and people who are just proud. So what I want to finish with is try not to confuse those who flex to those people who are proud, to those people who are trying to inspire, to those people who put that information out there for a positive reason. They might have built a business and they're successful and they want to use that to inspire others to do that. They might have grown a huge YouTube channel with millions of subscribers. They want to put that there and help, or they just want to entertain. There's a big difference between people who are doing it for those reasons and the people who are insecure and they're doing it for the wrong reasons. They're doing it to impress others. So we've all got a bit of flex in us, so try and have some understanding, try and have some empathy, try not to judge. I'm going to go, it's getting dark outside, we'll see you at the next one.